Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whatever time zone you happen to be in, welcome to Leaders Worldwide Online Toastmasters Club. Our club mission: we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leaders Worldwide is designed for politicians, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, as well as anyone who wants to make their message heartfelt and authentic. Core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. We are Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters, where leaders are made. And let's welcome our original president of the club, Cynthia Scott.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Good to see you all, members and guests. So excited to have our meeting today. We've got three great speeches scheduled, but we're not sure about the third speaker. We'll see. And then we have some amazing evaluators, including our guest evaluator, past district director and DTM, Steve Today. Do you want to introduce yourself, Steve?
Hello, Cynthia, members of Leaders Worldwide. My name's Steve Today. I'm a member of 3 clubs in District 57, the esteemed Oakland 88, Alameda Tongue Twisters, and Speakers Forum. So that keeps me busy and out of trouble. And then I'm also a member of the District 57 Speakers Bureau.
Wow, the Speakers Bureau. Yay. We have quite a few members,
Right.
either on the Speakers Bureau or getting ready to get onto the Speakers Bureau. Wonderful.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so we'll talk to you a little bit later. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for being our expert evaluator. And you are the reigning champion of your area evaluation contest. So
Thank you.
wonderful to have you here, such an expert. Do we have any other guests here? Oh, we have Sandra is back, our member. But no more guests. I didn't do any advertising today because I was so late. So I will rectify that in just a moment. So I want to welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Mrs. Mrs. Area Director D. Marie Shy King. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that, Cynthia. I am just delighted to be here. And we are excited with the theme of our meeting this evening being the path to excellence. And I want all of you to think about that. First of all, do you think you are achieving or have achieved excellence? And if you have or are aspiring to do that, what path are you going to take to get there? As we go along, I'm going to explain to you some paths that might help you to achieve excellence. And then but the first thing that I want to do is to fill the role of our general evaluator. And by doing that, I will have my team of functionaries tell you what their responsibilities are. And the first person that I'm going to speak to will be Sally Reyes. This is a sweetheart of a member. She will volunteer to be the grammarian come rain, sun, or sleet and snow. So Sally, you have the mic.
Properly.
There you go.
Thank you, Dee Marie. I'm thrilled to be here. I keep learning so much about language doing this job. It gets really exciting. I stop in the middle of everything. So let me write that down. It's a new word. It's my job to listen to our speeches and our use of language and perhaps point out errors or habits that may make their speech stronger if we can practice and get over certain pauses or inflections that don't work for their speech. So that, and I listen for the wonderful words, and I get so excited when day after day people are using very, very heavy inspirational words to get through to us how important Toastmasters is. So thank you for having me with you tonight. Oh,
So
wait a minute.
I was going to say, I'm not going to let you get away without
Word
giving
of the
us the
day
word of the day.
is exuberance, which I think qualifies for the theme, the quality of being full of energy, excitement, and cheerfulness, the path to excellence. Please use our word. It's a great one. And add it to your list of powerful words. I know you have lots of them tucked aside.
So I want you to understand that our grammarian has, first of all, demonstrated the word that she chose for today. She has a certain amount of exuberance and she discusses what it is she will do as a grammarian. And that's just not because that's her word. Today, that's what she does. The next person that I would normally call on would be Rosemary Sweeney. Has she arrived? Because that will be our timer.
I can be the timer until she gets here.
Okay, great. So will you explain what your job is going to be, Cynthia?
Yes, I'm an old-fashioned timer. So our speeches today are 10 to 12 minutes for the first two. At 10 minutes, you'll get a green card. And I hope you can see that. I will keep my hand up. Let me go ahead and do that now before I forget. Green at 10 minutes, yellow at 11 minutes, and red at 12 minutes. And then our third speaker will be 5 to 7 minutes. 5 minutes green, 6 minutes yellow, and 7 minutes red. And all speakers have 30 seconds to wrap up their speech. And I'll tell the other timing when it's time to get there for the table topics and the evaluations. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much for stepping in to fulfill that role. We appreciate that, Cynthia. And now, in keeping with the agenda, I would like to have our first evaluator, who is Steve today, to introduce the project objectives for the speech that we're about to hear from Alex Baelish. So, Steve, you have the floor.
I am delighted to do it. Alex is in Pathways Presentation Mastery, level 5. He's reflecting on his path. So he will talk about the experiences he had going through Presentation Mastery, and we're going to learn what he got out of it and probably what he's taking forward. Back to you, Dee Marie.
Thank you so much, Steve. And I will share just an insight or two about Alex. He is a phenomenal member of Leaders Worldwide, very enthusiastic, a hard worker, but the things that make him stand out, he owns his own business, over 25 years in the EMT services, where he teaches CPR and all those different kinds of complicated things that help to keep a person alive when necessary. But the one thing that keeps him moving that I have noticed is his daughter. She and Alex together are podcasters, and he spends a lot of his spare time, if not all of it, making sure that the two of them experience a phenomenal, exuberant relationship. And I think that's just wonderful. So without further ado, we will have Alex Baelish reflecting on my path. Alex Baelish.
It would help if the person that does the Zoom knows how to actually do it. All right, beautiful. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and people from around the world. I want to talk to you a little bit about my journey as a Toastmaster, because it's only been about a year and it's been a crazy kind of year. The first thing when you think of Toastmasters, I think the first thing that you think about is, what the heck is a Toastmaster? And do they clink like glasses all the time and get drunk and do all these different things? And when it comes to the art of speaking, I don't think that there's a better program than Presentation Mastery. I didn't know what to pick, so you pick one. Somebody recommended it. Hey, okay. And the first thing that you do is you learn how to give an icebreaker. Now, for those of you that don't know, I speak on a regular basis. So this isn't something that is really hard. I probably have more time than not than people telling me to shut up than they do to speak more. And I say that because this club has gone from one set of people to another, and there's been a couple of core people in there. You know, when I first started, we had a Zoom master that taught us how to walk. And it's funny because he has since left the club. He found his replacement, which was me, and we never heard from him again. And I've actually talked to him a couple of times, and it's really kind of an interesting thing, because when I was doing the contest, I got this message from him, and he's like, Alex, give me a call. And we talked about what to do for the contest. You know, my first couple of speeches were not really easy. Writing down a speech for me is I would probably rather have my eyes plucked than to write a speech. It was very difficult. And it still is. And I've learned a lot about that. You know, my first speech talked about my experience as a kid, you know, quarter, nickel, dime, how that relates to the business stuff that my dad taught me. You know, we talk about a person that hated his job, but was exuberant every single day. Why? Because you got to kiss the hands and shake the babies and do all the stuff that you need to do. And yes, I purposely said that the wrong way. You want to know what people's orders were. You want to get them out in and out really quick. And I think that that's an important skill. Transitioning into some other project of a purpose. You know, we all have our passions, and trying to express yourself has been the greatest thing that I've learned from this whole path. Listening to all the speakers, whether it's the first time they've spoke, to former presidents of Toastmasters International, you hear the difference. When somebody knows how to communicate well, they know how to communicate well. And I think that it was really impressive how someone can start one place and take you on a journey within 5 minutes and be done. And I'm really looking forward to crafting that even more. I was lucky enough to be part of the speech contest, and that unto itself was a bit of an experience, because, you know, the woman that was the moderator asked me, well, why are you doing it? Well, because I want to win. Why else do you want to do it? What's the worst that happens? I lose, you know? I mean, you go out there you're going to win. And although my speech might not have been the best, that day, they said it was. And I think it was a blessing and a curse to have the speech contest so early, because there's a lot of momentum that's created when you're really working on a speech. And I didn't put the work in that I should have. I really didn't, because, I got another week. All of a sudden it turned into a month. And the next thing you know, I got to do this silly speech that I haven't really honed the way I should have. And that's my biggest takeaway from the speech contest, is that you have to know it cold. And the day of my speech, I had worked on it several days before, and it didn't save right. And I was unprepared. And I was trying to recreate it. But you know what? How does that relate to all this? It's about preparation. And I wasn't prepared. And you know what? It showed, because I didn't do as well as I should have. I didn't do as well as I could have. And I think that's what's the disappointing part about it. But at the end of the day, it was still a great experience, because what's the worst that happens? You win. And I think that, you know, when you're doing these type of contests, a speech contest is different than what we're doing here, which is a level 5 speech. Why? Because it's to a different audience. And knowing that audience, knowing what you're going to say, knowing how you're going to say it, having different vocal variety, all these different things are important. And knowing when to use them are more important. Using your hands. Don't use them too much. Don't use them not enough. You know, and we do that because we're trying to make a show. One of the things that I did do was I looked at the previous winners of the International Speech Contest. Went back and saw like 10 years of speeches. And they all had one similar thing. They were smooth. They knew what to say. They knew how to say it. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. They had a message. Some of them were very similar, but at the end of the day, you can have a message of love, but use anything for that. You could use this pen. I know you can't see it because of and that could be the story. Someone won it because they talked about a Disney movie. So whatever resonates with you, that's the key. And I think one thing that Toastmasters has shown me, especially this particular pathway, is that it's not the the project can fit what you're trying to say. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because there's so many great stories out there that I may want to say, but I have to kind of fit it into the pathways in a way that is organized. And I think organization is a key to Toastmasters and the success of Toastmasters. You have to know where you're going to know where you're going. And I know that sounds kind of a silly thing to say, but you know, because you look at all these paths, and I was looking at it and I'm like, well, it's about 12 speeches, give or take. And it's about one a month, give or take. And the way I look at it is, I don't mind speaking. And speaking once a month is what we should be doing and we should be striving for as a Toastmaster. Because what is the goal of Toastmasters? The goal is to be a better speaker. And we get a lot of people from all over the world that are not as lucky as me at having English as a first language. And I think that having English as a first language gives me a leg up, but that's also harder because then I have to hone my skills and really look at each project and make sure that it's done right and make sure that message is given the right way. So when I look back at this last year, I've managed to be the Zoom master / sergeant of arms. I guess I missed a meeting and I like doing that. But more importantly, I've learned to be a better communicator. I've learned to take a pause. That pregnant pause has been a godsend to me, either giving a speech here or in my business or in just speaking. Don't rush. And if you don't have anything to say, don't say it. I still am working on that one. I want to encourage everybody, if you're looking for a pathway, I know many of you start at presentation pathways, presentation mastery. I encourage everybody to try to do that because it really gives you a sense of what Toastmasters really means. So thank you, and we'll see you soon. Back to you.
Wow. So you've put me in an awkward position, Alex. I'm not your evaluator, but there is so much I would like to say. Be less than the exuberant person that I think I am to step into that. So let's just ask the timer to give us 1 minute on the clock, please.
One minute.
Thank you, Madam Timer. As we think about the path to excellence, for me, initially, it was the three core values, the first three core values, which were integrity, respect, and service. And what I learned was when those three core values are demonstrated with the highest degree of enthusiasm and authenticity, excellence was an automatic result. So that was a great learning for me on the path to excellence. And I want you to know that I'm still traveling that path. Won't you join me? And let's do that. Our next speaker will be Alex as the evaluator for Cassandra Garabedian. Will you give us her speech or her speech project and all of that?
You got it. So just like me, she is doing a level 5 presentation mastery. Sorry about that. Reflecting on her path. It's a 10 to 12 minute speech, and the title is called On the Road Again, and it feels wonderful. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Alex. And let me tell you a little bit about our upcoming speaker. Cassandra Garabedian is someone who walked the runway in Milan, Italy. I can actually see her, and just as she's standing now, walking the runway, starting her stuff, and doing her thing. Cassandra is also an entrepreneur. She is the VPE of Leaders Worldwide. And she is someone who gives a lot of emphasis to hone her craft. So I'm excited to present to you Cassandra Garabedian, On the Road Again, and It Feels Wonderful. On the Road Again, and It Feels Wonderful. Cassandra Garabedian, you have the mic.
Thank you, Dee Marie. Toastmaster, guest, thank you for being here and allowing me to share my journey as a Toastmaster. As they stated, I chose presentation mastery. Why? Because I had to pivot. How many of you have had to pivot in your career, in your life? Maybe it was from a divorce. Maybe it was from an illness that you found yourself, you had to no longer work at a certain position. And you said, I need to change careers. Whatever the situation may have been, point is, you had to pivot. You had to change something in your life. And maybe you thought the world had ended for you. But as you went on, slowly thinking, oh my God, your life was all over. Whole humdrum for me, poor me. I'll have to do this particular job, or I have to go in this direction. My life is over. But as you got into that particular arena, you found out something different. It wasn't that bad. Well, for me, in my modeling career, I was offered commercials and I shied away. No, I'm not, I don't want to do that. I prefer just to walk the runway. Why? Because I was used to it. My engagement with the audience, I didn't have to speak. I could just smile, do my thing. My engagement was, as we say in Toastmasters, was the body language. I spoke to them with the garments, my smile, and my movement. I wore the clothes. I make believe. And that was my way of dealing with it, right? But as far as speaking, I was good. I made my money, lots of it, and I didn't have to speak. I traveled all over the world. So what was to it? But it was that voice behind my head saying, or that little gazoo saying, Cassandra, you know you wanted to do that commercial. You know you could do that acting part. What's holding you back? The other side saying, you know it's fear, right? But why are you letting fear stop you? You never have before. Why are you? What are you afraid of? Why are you so afraid? And then one day, I met this bubbly woman. Hi, my name is Cynthia Stock. I just think that you're marvelous. And I think that you would be really good at speaking, public speaking. I'm like, lady, are you out of your mind? And we started to talk. She said, I want you to meet someone. She's going to have a one-woman show in San Jose. I need for you to meet her. So I said, okay. So she picked me up at BART one day and she took me over to San Jose where I met Carrie Kelly doing her one-woman show. Carrie inspired me. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've always wanted to do. I know that I can do this. I just needed to let this boogeyman that lived under the bed face him head on. So I decided to stare him in the eyes, look him head on. So that's what I did. I started to take classes. Then I joined Toastmasters. 3 years. This is my third year. But the first 2 years, I had to just work at it. I just dibbled and dabbed and but this was my most serious year. Then I met a woman named DeMarie Shy King. With DeMarie, it was something clicked. Now keep in mind, I have never really just let anything hold me back, but this particular thing I did. I knew that I was capable of doing whatever I set my mind to. But this was the year that things were going to change. And everything seemed, the stars seemed to line up. Everything fell into place. I told Cynthia I needed to, she was wasting my talent, basically. I told her I wanted a key position. And I also told her that I needed a challenge. So with DeMarie being on the team, she started telling us things about a triple crown what is a triple crown? What is the OATM that you're going for? And she started motivating us and inspiring us. So we started doing more. We started taking on. It was like a challenge. It was like, okay, you can do this. This is all you need to do. Just start doing your speeches. This is pathways. What is a pathway? So she started telling us all these different things. And what do you know? It caught on like wildfire. Cinder. We start doing speeches. We start looking at that pathway. We're like, okay, let's do this. Okay, well, I just finished this one. We're on level 4. We're on level 3. We're on this. We're on that. We're all over the place. But it was in sync. And the most beautiful thing for me that was happening, I found my voice. All the little pieces that were inside of me, they started to align themselves. Things started to click. What I can say about when my 15 years being in business for myself, having to pivot my business from being a brick and mortar where they would come inside the store, I could now be online. I can now go out and be in a situation for a trade show and have my words come out succinctly and inspire and motivate and engage my audience. I could speak so that the person in the back could hear me. I can use body language to convey the words, to emphasize using the words, but also my limbs to also convey, to give impact to the words that I'm saying. All the things that Toastmasters teach us, all through the levels we have, they teach us, they step by step by step, each level, they succinctly take us on to the next page, I would say, to lead, to inspire, to let us know that there's so many ways that we can engage our audience. So with that, I'm on the road again, and it's a wonderful feeling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. So you can see that these two speakers are challenging me and my patience, because there again, there is so much that I want to say, but I cannot and I will not become as exuberant as I could. And at this moment, I will ask the timer to give us 1 minute on the clock, please, so that we can let the evaluators complete their evaluation.
Cynthia, is the king here?
Yes, he is sitting here. Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And that's 1 minute.
Thank you so much.
Give me a moment so that I can get ready, please.
Yes, I'm going to give another tip about the path to excellence. I told you earlier that the first 3 core values of Toastmasters leads to excellence. All we have to do is follow those. Then I found myself at a divergent road. I even had a speech that was entitled The Divergent Road. And a divergent road is a path where you have to make a decision to go left or to go right. And anytime I found myself not sure which path to take, I took pathways. And by taking pathways, I automatically had a path. I found that to be the one thing that was just so exciting. It would tell me which way I needed to go. But I'm going to show you something later that will help you to understand why I became so exuberant and excited and passionate about pathways. So next, evaluator number 3, who is Cassandra Garabedian, will introduce and explain the objectives for Salim Jackson, who is our next speaker. Cassandra?
Cassandra, I muted you by mistake.
Oh, that's okay.
There you
Okay, so we have Salim. Salim will be speaking from Presentation Mastery, Level 1, Research and Presenting. It was 5 to 7 minute speech. And the name of his speech is How Persistence Beats Resistance in Life and Cells. How persistence beats resistance in life and cells. Salim Jackson.
And Dee Marie, can I explain the timing cards since Salim wasn't here at the time that I was explaining them?
Absolutely. I was going to ask you to do that. Thank you.
Oh, right. We're in sync. Okay, so it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. So at 5 minutes, you'll see the green card. And at 6 minutes, you'll see the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, you'll see the red card. And then you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Does that make sense to you, Salim? I know it's been a while since you've been timed at a Toastmasters meeting, and I want to make sure it makes sense to you. Did that make sense for you, Salim?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Dee Marie. Back to you.
So, Cynthia, you want to share some things about Salim with us since you know him and he was once a member of the group? Just something that would be succinct and somewhat of a connection for us. Thank you.
Yes. Well, it was probably about 8 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was before COVID.
Yeah.
Salim walked into the beautiful, I think the best Toastmasters meeting we ever had at Heart to Heart on the 26th floor, I think,
Yeah.
in Oakland, overlooking the beautiful Lake Merritt and the sunset and the temple in the mountains. I mean, it's gorgeous. And he was a guest, and he was brave enough to do a table topic. And I was blown away. And I ran up to him afterwards and I said, "You have got to be a member." So he joined membership, and that's why his pathway is a little odd, because it's level 1 and research and presenting, but that's the old style that he's on, and it's level 1 research and presenting. Well, he was living in the Bay Area, physically in the Bay Area, but sometimes in LA.
Mhm.
Now he is sometimes in LA,
Mhm.
sometimes in Washington, D.C., where he is now, and sometimes in Costa Rica.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and he
Thank
is.
you so much for that,
Thank
Cynthia. That
you.
is wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. So, Salim Jackson, how persistence beats resistance in life and sales. How persistence beats resistance in life and sales. Salim Jackson, the mic is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Cynthia. And thank you so much to the moderator, Miss Marie, and then also Cassandra for initially introducing me as well. So thank you all so much. And I'm just grateful to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, in the grand tapestry of life, persistence emerges as a true champion, championing over every obstacle and resistance that stands in its way. From the inspiring words of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to the relentless pursuit of success, also in sales, the lesson rings true. Persistence beats resistance. Martin Luther King Jr. stands as an icon of perseverance in the face of adversity. His unwavering commitment to the civil rights movement in the United States sparked a movement that transformed and changed the course of history. Despite facing immense opposition, King persisted, leading marches, delivering powerful speeches, and ultimately, his persistence paved the way for significant legislative changes and societal shifts measured by the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and then the Civil Rights journey of 1964. In the realm of sales, stories abound of individuals who refuse to yield to rejection and setbacks. Take, for instance, Colonel Harold Sanders. You all may know of him if you've ever eaten at KFC, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Before finding success, Sanders faced countless rejection as he attempted to sell his fried chicken recipe. He persisted, traveling from hundreds of towns across the United States, from town to town, until his chicken finally gained the recognition it deserved. Today, KFC stands as a global fast food giant, a testament to the power of persistence in the world of sales. Quantified by millions of meals served daily across the United States and internationally, and again, worldwide. Similarly, stories of J.K. Rowling, whose manuscript led to Harry Potter. It was rejected hundreds of times by numerous publishers before it actually found a home. Despite facing rejection after rejection, Rowling persisted in her belief and in her work, refusing to let setbacks deter her. Her persistence paid off, leading to one of the most successful book series of all time, with over 500 million, that's 500 million copies sold worldwide, marking a remarkable milestone in literary history. These examples underscore a universal truth. In both life and in sales, success often eludes those who give up at the first sign of resistance. I'm just going to repeat that. Success often eludes those who give up at the first sign of resistance. It is those who press on, who refuse to be swayed by obstacles, who ultimately achieve greatness. So let's take the inspiration from the likes of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Colonel Sanders, and J.K. Rowling. Let us embrace the power of persistence, knowing that with each and every setback, we grow stronger. And with each challenge, we inch closer and closer and closer and closer to our goals. For in the end, it is not the strongest, it is not the most talented who prevail, but it is those who dare to persist in the face of resistance. Toastmasters, let's continue to persist in the face of resistance. Thank you. And I'll turn it back over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Celine Jackson. So let me just say, for the record, could there not have been a better theme than the path to excellence? I think that we've been on that path with our speakers tonight. Absolutely. The third tip that I want to leave with you is, after making a decision on that divergent road, which way I should go, and by the way, When I got to that divergent road and I knew that it was pathways that I was involved in, I remembered something. I've always come across as being so staunch and so straight-laced. And so I decided to do engaging humor as my next pathway. I'm not funny. I've never been funny. The funniest thing that happened to me was to be given a topic at a table topic session where I was told to imagine myself as a cricket. Me? And my immediate response was, how dare you think that I could be a noisy little cricket? And by the time I got through, everybody was rolling in the aisle. So as you can see, pathways can do anything that you want it to do. But what set me on a path that I will never, ever be able to change was to go to my mailbox and find this little,
It's blurry, so you have to
yeah,
take off your blurry background.
oh my goodness. And I don't have time to do all that, but it's the Triple Crown Award. I won a Triple Crown Award. That set me on a trajectory that I cannot possibly explain. I won one in 2 different districts in the same year, and that was last year, 22 and 23. I was humble beyond anything I can tell you, but I received a jolt of passion to excel with excellence and to do the very best that I knew how to do. I will share with you tonight that when you are on a path to excellence, you make things work. And it's because we're just here as family. We have no guest. I didn't have the introductions for any of the speakers. I was not going to sit here and say, oh, I don't have that introduction. Cynthia, tell us about Salim. You know him personally. Hello, I don't have his introduction, so please tell us about him, okay? With the other 2 speakers, I knew enough about them to say, oh my God, this person is that. That is what we're talking about. Since nobody in the audience knew exactly what was supposed to be said, I said it. And now we will transition and have the timer explain how are we doing table topics, first of all? Because I saw Rosalind, is she supposed to be doing table topics or are we doing table topics?
Um, actually, Nadine stepped up and said she's going to do table topics,
Oh,
but can we take a
excellent.
minute for Cassandra first?
Yes, let's take a minute on the clock and then we'll come back and do the timing for table topics. Thank you, Cynthia.
Okay, that's a minute. Would you like me to explain the timing for table topics?
I certainly would. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. At 1 minute, you'll see the green card, and that means go. You can go. Green is go and leave the stage if you want, or you can stay for the yellow, which will come up at 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then the red will come at 2 minutes exactly, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Madam Tabletop, the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you for that, Cynthia. And I've been informed that Nadine James is going to be our table topics master. And I'd like to introduce you to the next person. Nadine, you have the mic.
Thank you.
And
Good-
she can come on, she can't come on camera, but she can come on audio.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good night, everyone. Okay, so do we have any volunteers for the table topics? The theme is Path to Excellence, and the word of the day is exuberance. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I'm a volunteer to respond to this question. So recently, last week, in fact, we got the opportunity to witness a solar eclipse, where this is where the moon orbits, and it precisely conceals the sun. So for us, the day started out, for us here in Buffalo, I don't know what it was like in other places, but the day started out overcast. Give an example of a time you pursued the path, and I'm not going to say the path, despite being shrouded. So the path to excellence despite being shrouded. Can you give us a response to that? Let's see who are the persons here. Who wants to answer that question?
Maybe Sandra Edwards or Rosalind Kahn, because they don't have a role.
Okay, Rosalind, would you like to answer that? Well, Rosalind, I think you witnessed the eclipse as well. And so my question is, based on the theme, it says path to excellence, and the word of the day is exuberance. So my question has to do with the occurrence of the eclipse last week. So for us here in Buffalo, it started out overcast. And so I'm asking you to give an example, relate what happened to a time when you pursued the path despite being shrouded.
Okay. I'm thinking. Well, I guess I would have to begin, Madam Table Topic Master, in the eclipse in Texas. There was a lot of hype that Texas was the place to go. Texas was the place to see it. The weather reports were saying that there were going to be storms, there were going to be clouds, it was going to be rained out. I remember looking up until the day saying, it was going to break at this time, but then you were going to see it at that time. And, sure enough, there indeed, it did show. It's the clouds parted and away it came. And I remember I was in a professional speaking group with a guy by the name of Clinton Swain. And the name of the group escapes me, but I remember there was a lot of very accomplished speakers there, and he always ridiculed me, saying that when I stood up, I needed to tape my hands together because I needed to be standing like this instead of like this, the way that I like to stand. And I think he would marvel at the fact that, I got on the TED stage 2 or 3 times and had a TV show where I was the host of that, despite everything that he had told me, because there were people so talented and so far ahead of me. We always tend to compare ourselves, and I can't do this. And I would feel so low that I ended up leaving. And, there was a mentor of mine, and he said to me, and he's in heaven now, you can do anything you want in the world, Rosalind. It's literally up to you. And that would be the experience I would recount of having a feeling of exuberance, knowing that I gave 3 TED Talks, that I had a TV show, and everything else was that I consisted to persist and believe that I could make the possible possible and follow those dreams. And just as I woke up this morning saying I should write more newsletters, they're in my head, and I got to just sit down and do them and make them happen and get them out there. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you
Thank you for asking me that question.
Thank you so much, Professor Rosalind. I appreciate your response. Thank you so much. Okay, next question has to do, well, it's the same, I'm using the eclipse. So when the eclipse occurred, there was something I noticed. It was the most beautiful phenomenon. And, when I have time, one of these times, I'll show you the pictures that I got, I had ever seen. But a strange thing though, while we were sitting there, I went to Niagara Falls. And so while we were sitting there, as the moon was getting closer to the sun, it became so cold. Like it just all of a sudden, it just became so cold. And then the darkness came, right? can you relate or can you describe or relate this to any everyday occurrences that may have happened in your life or what you see going on? Sandra? Do you guys understand the question I just asked?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I do.
Sandra Edwards, are you at your microphone? Maybe she's not. Oh, there she is.
I'm fine. There I am.
Sandra, did you hear my question?
Yeah, would you go through that question once again?
So when I went to Niagara Falls to watch the eclipse, and while we were sitting there, and as the moon was approaching the sun, it got suddenly cold, just very cold. And then the darkness came. It was just sudden. And so I'm asking, can you describe or relate this to everyday occurrences?
Well, I guess I have had a feeling like that. Well, most recently, there came to me a time when everything it looked like financial devastation. And I was just, I just went out of it. I lost all sense of figuring things out. I was just scared. I was just scared. And I just couldn't figure anything out or think of solutions or anything like that. And after a while, I did calm down and I did start thinking about solutions. And I did finally work something out. But I think that is the moment you're thinking of, that you're asking me about. Like the moment that it closed in on me, it was like all dark. And I think that's what you wanted me to talk about. Thank you for the question.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sandra. All right. Who's next? Sally. All right. So Sally, my father used to say to me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. Let me just turn up my. Okay. My father used to say, Deanie, the darkest part of night is just before day. As you're pursuing the path to excellence, what does the darkest part of night is just before day means to you?
Well, there have been some challenges. And there are many times when you have to stop and say, I don't care where the education is, the experience is, but things look pretty flat without explanation or how to get out of the darkest, lowest point in your life. You think it is, but there's several more. And the experience and exuberance it takes to stop and quietly think through, sleep on it, and start somewhere. And I have always looked around for opportunities to figure out how an opportunity will lead to the next path that will get me out of the darkest place. And persistence and continuation to get there and create the gold that was at the end of that particular path and turn around and say, oh, I did that. I can try another path and find out how many there are in my life, and found the joy of discovery of a new expression, a new confidence, and saying, well, if I did it well 10 times, I can do it another, and I can't see it, but I'll keep at it and hit my head on the wall until I find the answer. And it's been a explanation for how the hell did I get here? And to meet such wonderful, creative, exuberant, fun people who've been through similar things and have had to fight the dark to get to the light. And I can't say enough about how stimulating it is to get with you all and rub shoulders and realize you've been through the same. And thank you very much. It's been a joy.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you so much. So I don't know if I have time for another question, but I just wanted to leave you with this. Another thing I noticed, and I thought it was just the strangest thing. And just, I just thought about how God is, just awesome. So the day started out overcast. We went through all that I told you. And as soon as the eclipse was done, the place was bright and pretty. The sun was out shining like nothing. There was no rain, no overcast. I was like, oh my God. It was just, it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. So that's, when I think about the darkest part of night is just before day. I experienced it in that, just being at Niagara Falls last week. It was definitely an exuberant experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nadine. And yes, we are out of time. We have 3 evaluations that have to be done. But thank you so much for those ecliptical questions. The eclipse took such an exuberant hold on everybody leading up to the actual event. So yes, absolutely. The next thing on our agenda would be to go to our first evaluator. And that person would be Steve today. And you have the mic.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dee Marie. And a big thank you for Alex for your speech. As I listened to the speech, you brought 2 real, I guess I'll call them personality traits, but just I think the way you go about life. You go about life, I think, with a lot of humility and a lot of determination. And you take that humility and determination and put it into hard work. So then you reach your goals, and that's how you're on the path to excellence. You talked about going on the presentation mastery path, and you cited 4, well, you talked about the path, but then you cited 3 different, I guess what I'll do is I'll call them gurus. You talked about your father. You talked about your predecessor. I think it was your predecessor as Sergeant at Arms. And you talked about going to the videos of the world champions of public speaking and watching them and how hopeful or how helpful they were. What I would like to see you do is spend a little bit more time really getting into all 3, your dad, your predecessor, and the world champion of public speaking, and give specific things they did to help you out. Now, one thing I got from your dad was you were inspired by him because he worked a job for a long time that he didn't really like, but he got it done. You also mentioned that you hate writing out speeches. So I think it would be interesting if you talked about how your dad making the sacrifice taught you to maybe do something a little bit out of your comfort zone and write down speeches where you knew you were uncomfortable doing it, but you stayed with it, you used your determination, and you wrote out speeches, and they were better that way. And then with the world champion of public speaking, you can talk about how as they make their speeches, they're very concise. And that would circle back to how at the beginning of the speech you talked about you don't really have a fear of public speaking. You like public speaking. Some people tell you to speak less. Well, one of the things we learned in Toastmasters, and one of the things you might learn with the world champion of public speaking, is how to be concise. Speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes. Yours are a little bit longer because of the nature of your project. Evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. So the object is not only to speak, but to be concise. And then you can do the same thing with your predecessor, how your predecessor specifically helped you how to do things as Sergeant at Arms. Talk about a few more specifics. But I like the fact that you had 3 different gurus, your dad, your predecessor, and the world champion of public speaking, and just take it, wordsmith it a little bit, and I think you've got a great message to where, as we're on the pathway to excellence, we're getting inspiration from different places. So I like the speech. Keep working on it. It's actually a good message down the road that could work at a TLI or some other types of officer training. So back to you, Dee Marie.
Thank you so very much for that inspiring evaluation and your stretch goals. Our next evaluator will be Alex Baelish as he evaluates Cassandra Garabedian.
Mute myself. Sorry about that. All right. Let me get to my notes here. So, Cassandra, I loved your speech. I loved the fact that you really took us on a journey of both your business and your personal goals. I think that there's a lot to be said where sometimes they're separate or they're the same, and you really weave them in. I loved also how you used the different mentors or people in Toastmasters who have affected your change in your love of Toastmasters, whether it was Cynthia or was it Dee Marie. I think there's a lot to be said for doing the next thing, meaning checking off the boxes and how fun that is. And I think I'm also a person that likes to check off a box. So, trying to get to that goal. That said, I love the speech. I think you could, like what I did, was maybe expand upon some of the stories of what you're doing. Also, I loved your pacing in the beginning. I know you have a tendency of pausing a lot, which there's nothing wrong with a good pregnant pause, but I loved how in the beginning you didn't need them. You were going. You were strutting your stuff. You were using your hands. You had great vocal variety. And towards the end, you did a couple of pauses, which were appropriate, but at the same time, I bet you if you had a couple of good filler story to extend it, I think it would have been great. Sorry, I choked to death here. What I could definitely see as a stretch goal as I choke and die is to make sure that you hone the speech so that you can give it to an open house or other clubs to show the fact that you not only went to you transitioned from personal or professional to personal goals. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. All in all, I think it was a great speech, and thank you. As I choked to death.
Get some water, Alex.
I know.
Take some sips of water, okay?
I'm going to. I just need to.
Thank you so much for that. Great, two great evaluations. And next we will have Cassandra Garabedian evaluating Celine Jackson. You have the mic, Cassandra.
Thank you. Celine, wow. I am so impressed. And you said you've been out with Toastmasters for a minute here, but you just got on that bike and just rode it. Your vocal variety, your tone, your pitch, your pauses, you had a strong voice and it resonated. You were engaging. You had us there. Your word choice was great, in my opinion. You gave us names of people that we all knew: Martin Luther King, the Colonel Sanders. You gave us wonderful examples. Again, your word choice was great. You focused, you were well focused, and your speech was well organized. What I would give you a stretch goal: stand up next time. Utilize your space. Your gestures were good, but I want more body language, because you could do so much with that speech. But overall, Celine, that was a good speech.
Thank you.
That was excellent.
Great feedback.
I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Absolutely. And I'll just add to that by saying welcome to Leaders Worldwide. We're very excited to have you.
Mm-hmm.
And now comes a part of the meeting where, as the general evaluator, I will take the next 2 to 3 minutes and tell you that we started a little bit late, but our introduction by the Sergeant at Arms is always so refreshing and interesting, with all those flags from all the different countries. But before I get into all that, let me call on my role players. And the first one that I want to call on is Sally, our grammarian, so she can give us her report.
Thank you so much. Am I okay? Yeah, all right. Well, Alex used one word of the day. I used two. Steve to Marie, 5 at least. Rosemary, 3. Nadine James, 1. Rosalind, 1. But the things that we were using in transitions and self-expression and resonate and pause and organization and sustenance, respect and service, treatment and persistence. I think all of these things are the lessons that we get every single time of how we can use these words to give us power. And one thing I noticed, someone was saying that we're transitioning from one thing to the other. I like the way it wove. How about taking those 2 fingers and putting them together to show your hands weaving something? I mean, just different ways of using your hands to give power to a word and an expression. Thank you. I think you guys are absolutely marvelous.
Thank you so much for that, Sally. And next we will have our timer to give her report, please.
Okay, great. And that grammarian report is always great. We love Sally as our grammarian. But first, I want to make some celebrations. I forgot to add them to the agenda. First of all, Alex is finishing his path, but he's not only finishing his level 5, he's finishing his triple crown today. So woohoo! Give him a hand. And also, Cassandra is doing the same thing. Level 5 and a triple crown. Woo! And of course, Salim gave his first speech here, and he was a charter member of Leaders Worldwide, and he's now back. And we like to have him back in the saddle again, as it were. Ooh, that's my alarm. Okay. So, timers report Alex was 11 minutes, 35 seconds. Cassandra was 12 minutes, both on spot. Salim was 4 minutes and 59 seconds. You were even 1 second before the green card. You would qualify for a competition, but it's best to speak until you see the green and then go. You're good to go. Okay, table topics. Rosalind was 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Sandra was exactly 2 minutes, and Sally was 2 minutes 10 seconds. Steve, with his evaluation, just squeaked by with 3 minutes and 29 seconds. He qualified. Alex was 2 minutes and 39 seconds, and Cassandra was 1 minute and 36 seconds. Again, you stopped before the green card. Get in the habit of always seeing that green card and then going. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day, if I can speak. Tongue twister.
Thank you so much for that. And someone put in the chat that Rosemary is not here, but Cynthia had assumed the role of Rosemary, and that's who Sally would have normally been calling for that statement, but we got that. I had started with the general evaluation, and I will make it short because we are slowly running out of time. We went a little over because we got started late in the process of trying to make sure that everything ran as smoothly as possible. I just want to commend the club for pitching in to make sure that all the roles were covered. Everyone wanted to make sure that everything was handled in a professional manner. I think that all the role players did an excellent job. I can't think of any stretch goals that I would offer you, except we do need to try and do a better job of making sure that we cover the roles and that everyone who is fulfilling a role needs to be seen by the audience. And I know that sometimes we get caught in situations where we can't, but if everybody else is, especially the people that are answering the table topics, that would be a great thing to do. I cannot think of anything else at this moment that would improve what we did tonight. The theme was well represented. The word exuberant just fell right into place because everyone seemed to be in an exuberant, passionate, exciting, wanting to lend some credibility to the meeting. And that's always a plus. And you could feel that from all three of the speakers. Their messages were phenomenal. Absolutely. So thank you all so very much for stretching yourselves and stretching and seeking excellence. We had a very good meeting tonight. And that is my conclusion. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, thank you. And yes, I was filling in for Rosemary tonight as president and timer. So I asked Nadine at the last minute to fill in for me as table topics master because it's really hard to be table topics master and timer at the same time. And she stepped up and she said
And
she wasn't available to be on screen.
right, I know that. I did that as a way of explaining, and now you're explaining it so that the other characters who were participants would understand why she was not on screen, okay?
Yeah, yeah. So she
Thank
stepped
you
up
so
at the
much for
last
that.
minute. Yeah, awesome. So I would like to just get some sharing, especially from our guests and Salim, our new member. Would you like to share what was your experience of Leaders Worldwide tonight?
Yeah, I don't want to jump before anyone else. So if anyone else is looking to,
Go ahead, please. I invited you.
okay,
You have
no,
the floor.
absolutely. And I'll be brief. I think this was just an incredible event, a incredible meeting. The structure of it was phenomenal. I think each and every individual that spoke with clarity, direction, power, and most importantly, grace. And I'm just excited to be here, develop my skills, and I think it'll happen almost by default, just by being around such exuberant individuals. You like that? Yeah.
Wonderful word of the day. And we have a tradition here with our takeaways and chocolates. So I give virtual chocolates away. If you don't like chocolate, you can order any treat. And I have a huge magic bag that can give you any treat that you would like.
Can I just say one thing to Celine before he gets his
Sure.
chocolate or whatever?
Yes.
You're gonna just fit in just perfectly. You are here.
In the
Okay?
right place.
You're at the right place. I'm sorry, I just had to say that.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Would you like a treat?
Absolutely.
Chocolate?
Double dark chocolate, if you have
Double
one.
dark chocolate. I have Belgian dark chocolate right here. Would you
That
like
works.
some of that?
That works.
Woo! Here it comes. 1, 2, 3. Whoosh! Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And our guest, our only guest tonight, because I fell down in the job and forgot what I was supposed to do and didn't advertise the event, Steve DeLay. How did you, I won't say enjoy our meeting, I will say, what was your experience tonight? Oops, you're on mute.
Oh.
It was exuberance. I had a great time. I enjoyed the three speeches. I enjoyed hearing Alex and giving feedback. And every time I come here, there's either 2 or 3 really good speeches. The evaluations are spot on, and the meeting's well run. So very enjoyable.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what would you like for your treat? Do you want chocolate or?
Yeah, that Belgian sounds really good.
Ooh, great. Here it goes. I've got a whole bar for both of you. I get my Belgian chocolate in big, big bars. So here it comes. 1, 2, 3, woo!
All right, got it.
And Sandra, you haven't been in a while? I'd love to hear your experience of tonight. Can you unmute? There you go.
So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I love the speeches, and everybody just fell right into line, doing what they're supposed to do, and it was really nice. I liked it,
Beautiful, wonderful.
and I'll have some of that chocolate too.
Coming up. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Awesome. And would anyone else like to share before I turn it over to our wonderful VPE, Cassandra, for our roles for our next meeting? Anybody want to share, or you're ready to go? Okay, I guess I will turn it over to Cassandra.